Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. We're taking a look here at Gala, seeing what's going on. Obviously, trying to figure out if it's going to continue higher or if it's just going to keep going sideways. It's doing really well here so far today, so we'll have to kind of maybe take a look at some previous resistance and support levels, kind of just understand generally what might happen next with some key levels. If you're new to the channel though, just know I'm not a financial advisor. Truly do love to teach people how to trade. Hope you can learn something here today. Obviously, if you do learn something, let me know. If you want to become a better trader, of course, cryptocash.tech is a site linked down below. Got a lot of awesome trades that we are taking here recently with some shorts and longs. Honestly, we're going up and down, whichever direction works best. Obviously, we didn't have a successful trade here recently, but I'd like to bring that up because it's important to recognize that that's part of trading. You're going to take some losses with the gains. The key is to have more gains than losses. And traditionally, I average somewhere in the range of 75, 85% success in the overall sense of things. So what I do works, and the main reason why is just because it's typically a very patient process. Kind of wait for the right entry. You don't just jump in willy-nilly, and you want to make sure that you have some convincing factors, right? Either way, that's just something to kind of think about. That's part of the trading community that I offer. We're all learning and growing together and just got some awesome traders here. So keep up the great work, everyone. Love what you're doing here. Keep it up. As you can see, they're using Bitget, one of my favorite exchanges. I also use ByBit as well for our signals. So all that information is down below, but both of them offer competitions every month where there's a decent sized prize pool. So be sure to check that out. If you are already registered with either one, send me over your user ID and I can add you to the list. Also keep in mind, you get 3 months free with a 12-month plan from ExpressVPN. You will need this, of course, to be able to utilize any type of leverage trading if you are inside the US. Or, of course, in another country that doesn't really like leverage. So that's kind of how it works. Okay, so taking a look here at Matic. Simply put, we're fairly range bound, as you can see. I mean, it's kind of a large range, but we're kind of staying within this area here. Okay, now that's pretty standard for a lot of coins before they do break out. And if we take a look at the bigger picture, obviously there was a lot of range bound activity too before it took its jump, right? So now that we're getting a lot more volume, a lot more volatility is occurring. It's a positive sign. But what we want to look at is a couple of little things. First and foremost, we want to take a quick peek here at the ascending trend. You can see this ascending trend was hitting on all fronts here. Continued higher, dropped below there with a pretty significant candle there, roughly 24, sorry, no, that was actually 3 trading days ago. And the price has been kind of stuck underneath ever since. So you can see that trend line formed as a support level turn into a resistance level now. Okay, so it's not saying the price can't go higher. It's just probably going to stay within that trend. Okay, so generally speaking, that's typically not a great sign, but it doesn't imply that it's going to just drop like a rock. What is an important thing to recognize is this little support level here, or basically resistance level. We need to recognize that will continue to work as a resistance until we close above. We need to be able to close above on the daily to be able to have a benefit there. Granted, it doesn't always work out perfectly when the price closes above it, but it's a good starting point, right? So I would say a candlestick closure at or above the current level would be a positive sign in the overall sense of things. A couple reasons. First of all, we'd be closing a higher high, right? It would be establishing higher highs. That would also reaffirm our higher lows and give us the potential of the price continuing further. So I would say overall in the general sense of things here, more positive than negative that we can see. Just keep in mind that might be a strong resistance there right at the 5.05 mark. Basically 5 cents, 5.05 cents, and just know that could work as a resistance. Looking at let's go ahead and go back to the daily and kind of look at the big picture here. Kind of see that we are still above 50 but below 70 on the R side. That's a positive sign in the overall sense of things. We can also see that we are diverging on the MACD, but it's not a super strong divergence. Okay, so that those higher highs and higher lows could potentially mitigate that altogether, and the price could continue up. Okay, but again, generally speaking, we are bearishly diverging for the moment on the daily. We need to recognize that hasn't come to a full effect. That kind of reaffirms the fact that we are below this ascending trend line, causing a potential resistance in that area, and that 5.05 could be very well a strong resistance wall. We can see previously in its past that has been a very difficult place to cross. Okay, while it crossed up here for one day, it came right back down the next. Okay, so you want to have at least a couple of days of closure above a certain level to have any confirmation. So I would say even if we get a closure above 5.05, we'd want to have that for at least a couple more days before we have any kind of proof that it's going to move the right direction. Other than that, we want to take a look quick here at the moving averages. We can see the ascending trend here as well. Looking mostly positive. We're still above the 20-day SMA, and that's a good sign. That's kind of an initial trend setter. So for the most part, even though we're below this ascending trend, we can still say that we are above the overall ascending trend in the last 20 days. And that's, to me, a positive sign. So for the most part, we're looking very very much positive than negative here on the daily, and a continuation upside makes more sense in the overall sense of things. We may not get that continuation immediately, but it should continue overall in the next few days, or upcoming weeks would be a good way to put it. So looking here at the 4 hour, once again, we can see we're back up over 50 on the RSI. That's usually a good sign. You can see how it works here. It continues to work as a resistance level, and then of course it breaks, becomes a support for some time. And then it becomes a resistance, now potentially support. I say potentially because we haven't closed above that yet, but this is a pretty strong definitive 4 hour candle. The likelihood of it continuing higher is greater. We can also see that Bitcoin is averaging itself up fairly nicely too. And with Bitcoin doing fairly well, Gala could very well follow that. Now, again, the pattern between Gala and Bitcoin is non-existent. There's really not a lot of consistency there. But a lot of times, a catalyst that occur are when Bitcoin can become, green, so to speak, have a nice green closure above 23,200. Then we could very well see some altcoins flourish. And Gala could be one of those. So 4 hour time frame looks fairly decent. We got a MACD convergence here as well. This is usually a tried and true example of when to take a long position, because again, it kind of shifts that momentum. It tells you that the bears no longer have control and that the bulls are in control. So 4 hour time frame looks fairly pleasing as well. So I think overall in the general sense here, Gala is looking like it wants to continue higher. I think that's pretty safe to say. Looking at the 1 hour, let's go ahead and get some quick indications here where we're at. We are a bit on the overextended side to the upside. We can see we're up to a 7 on TD sequential, so potential for further continuation, but generally speaking, that's what we're looking at there. We also see as well on the Ichimoku cloud, if I'm not mistaken, we're back up above that. So this is a positive sign. Conversion lines above the baseline, lag expands free and clear. So ultimately, we got all green lights here to consider a long position with a, again, this is a small time frame. Larger time frames is better for candlestick patterns, but we do have a bullish ascending triangle or, basically a pennant pattern forming. Okay. So all in all, mostly positive. Continuation of the upside makes more sense for Gala. Okay. That being said, be cautious, be careful if you're going to trade this guy, because again, Bitcoin is behaving uniquely, right? And in that uniqueness, it has a tendency of pushing up and down fairly significant. So with Bitcoin kind of looking positive right now, it would make sense for Gala to continue. But just know if Bitcoin were to correct itself even to 23,000 or just a little below, a lot of altcoins are doing this knee-jerk reaction where they're coming down harder and faster. Sometimes it's great to catch that, but again, you don't want to catch a falling knife, right? So be careful in how you approach this. I'd recommend tight profit targets. It's not really the market that we're in right now to be greedy. You don't want to take super greed. I mean, any type of trade that I take, I just took a short with Matic here recently, just trying to catch that overextension, and we have tighter targets that should be able to hit their targets based on the simple fact that it's just kind of one of those situations where the price action is continuing to work within its range. Okay. Again, a conversation for another day. Check that video out if you want, but generally speaking, Matic is definitely looking okay, but the conversation here is Gala, right? Gala is, I would say, more positive than negative. There's a strong likelihood we see further continuation of the upside, but bear in mind we're slightly overextended on shorter time frames, so we may see an initial pullback as well. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Hope that makes sense and I described that correctly for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned something. Let me know if you do. Comment below. If not, you want to become a better trader, cryptocash.tech is the site. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.